Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Hey Robo fans, got a brand new Robocop item to take a look at today. It is the 1/18th scale Robocop figure from Hiya Toys. And Hiya has been doing those awesome Aliens 1/18th scale figures. Check out this age warning right here. Ages 15 and up. And definitely not for ages 0 to 3. It's kind of funny, it doesn't really look like there's anything more hazardous than an O-ring G.I. Joe on here, but I guess the age limits have changed over the years. This is a really, really nice box. If you just want to keep it mint on card, you've got the option of either having it in the card there, and you can see a little hole punch there, you can hang it on a wall, or in a box similar to the Hall of Heroes, modern G.I. Joes that came out a couple of years ago. And there's a graphic on the back of Murphy walking away from a destroyed Ed 209. I did pick this one up from Big Bad Toy Store, and at a quick glance, they are out of stock right now. Hopefully some more will come in stock of this particular one. This is Murphy from the first Robocop movie. They do have a bunch of the other ones, though. There's a Robocop 3 figure at the moment. Battle Damage Robocop, Robocop 2, even the newer one from the reboot movie a couple of years ago. Nice graphics on the front here. That's so cool to actually see Peter Weller on Robocop merchandising. So many times this is all we get right here. What you see right here, you get the figure and a picture of the figure because they don't have the likeness rights of the actor. But Peter Weller has signed a deal a couple of years ago. They did those amazing Hot Toys figures. So it's cool to see the definitive Robocop on here. It's an exquisite mini of Robocop, and you are going to have to tear this open if you want to get at the figure. It's not a resealable clamshell, but I mean, if you cut it off and you do want to sort of reseal it, I guess what you could do is stick him on a stand, because he does have peg holes on the bottoms of his feet, and you could just slide the card back in if you neatly cut off the bubble and just have him standing on the bottom of the card. So you sort of can go back to displaying him in the box if you want. And on the back here, pictures of the Robocop figure. So I'm going to have comparisons with some of the other 1/18th scale Robocop figures of the past, and a little bit of trivia. I mentioned it in the Canada Day video I did a couple of weeks ago. Both of these guys are Canadian right here. This is Dan Hennessy from, well, he voiced Robocop in the Robocop animated series, Robocop and the Ultra Police. And Richard Eden played him in the live-action TV series, which was filmed in Toronto in the 90s. The main thing that I'm interested in finding out is if he is able, this guy right here, the Hiya Toys version, if he's able to fit in either the Ultra Police Robo 1 or the live-action Robocop Robo 1. I'm not so sure if he will, because from the pictures I've seen, it doesn't look like there's much range in the hips, which has always been an issue with Robocop. This one was made for this car in particular, so they made sure that he'd be able to do that. Same with that figure over there. But Hiya hasn't released a Robocop car, so I don't know if they designed him with being able to fit in any vehicle in mind. So this was a nice clean cut, I thought I'd mention. Sometimes it's a little trickier to cut these open, but this one, I didn't hit any snags, and you can just slide that right out. And like I said, when you're done with them, you can just slide them right back in there if you want to hang them on a wall. And it looks like he comes with a really cool base. That's so much nicer than just your standard blank base that G.I. Joe and Star Wars figures come with. Looks like a little piece of Detroit. Or, I don't know, does that look like Houston to you? And this is what's really cool about 1/18th scale figures in this day and age. Saw this with the Sectars figures from Zyka that I took a look at a while ago. Alternate hands. They're using the gimmicks from the bigger figures from the 6 scale and even the like the classified Joes, Marvel Legends. The all-important data spike, need that for old Clarence Boddicker. And what are these? Not sure what those are. I'll find out in a minute though. And it looks like the Auto 9 it's supposed to be up here, but it's fallen in behind, thank goodness. I had the Auto 9 for the TV Robocop and I lost it. But luckily, Marauder Gunrunners sells an Auto 9, which is what I'm going to actually do right now and compare. And the Hiya Auto 9 is a bit smaller. It's thicker though. The Marauder Auto 9 is really, really thin. Extremely thin. So it's nice that there's just a tiny bit more width to that one, but look at that. The Marauder one has the trigger detail on it, and the Hiya one does not. Just the regular hole. And if you're wondering if the TV version can hold the Hiya Auto 9, not really well. It's very loose and it looks way too small in his hand. So we'll just pop that one back in. I mean, this one's loose in there as well. Just do a quick comparison between the two. Wow, the TV Robocop is quite a bit bigger than the Hiya Toys Robocop. And the Kenner one is also quite a bit bigger. So these guys are a little bit bigger than the 1/18th scale. And I'll compare an O-ring Joe to him, and I can't think of a more appropriate one than the Cop. Shockwave. And if you're using this Robocop for your vintage O-ring Joes, then the scale, I would say, is absolutely perfect. Because even though Peter Weller wasn't a really tall guy, I think the idea was that Robocop is a bit bigger than Alex Murphy, and he's a bit bigger than everybody. So the scale is, I'd say, perfect if you want to use them with old O-ring Joes. And since the modern G.I. Joes were a little bit bigger, let's see how they scale up. It looks like he's about the exact same size as a modern G.I. Joe. If you take Hawk's helmet off, it looks like they pretty much line up perfectly. So still really good. And there's lots of shots in the movies where Robocop looks about the same height as a lot of other people in the shot with him. But as far as scaling with G.I. Joes, if that's what you want to use them for, if you want Robocop to be a G.I. Joe crossover character, and how cool would that have been? Much cooler than Rocky, in my opinion. Then scales perfectly with the Joes. And the mystery of these little H pieces has been solved. You just stick them into these gaps like that. One is kind of loose for some reason. Yeah, that one's not fitting in snugly anywhere. The first one's fine though. So that would just connect. If you have more of these bases, you can just connect them all together. That's a cool feature. And let's pop Robocop on his stand here. Ooh, you got to be careful here. I just noticed this thing wiggling a little bit. These pistons have always been very fragile on any Robocop toy that's been able to recreate them. Most of them. Oh, this one does have it. On the back here, the Kenner one doesn't. I know the Hot Toys one has them, and they're very fragile back there too. And that looks like it's like a separate piece, I think, that plugs into there. Yes, it does. It's moving in there. If you can pick that up. It's kind of on a ball joint in there, which allows for more movement in the foot. But I was going to pop this on here. So yeah, you just want to be careful when you're popping the foot on there to not break that back part. He's made of a kind of a floppy, bendy plastic, so it's a little forgiving. He's not made of NECA plastic. I have a NECA Robocop, and it broke from not much handling. In particular, the gun holster leg thing broke. Hands. Let's get a trigger hand in there. Look how tiny that is. That is really small. Pops on nicely, and let's open up the hand a little bit and get the Auto 9 in there. This should look a lot better. The reason it's smaller is because the figure is smaller. It's one of the coolest movie guns, the Auto 9. Too bad the helmet doesn't come off to show Peter Weller's face. Hopefully they'll be doing one of those. I don't believe they have one just yet. But I would love an unhelmeted, unmasked Murphy. I guess when he's on the stand, he's still shorter than these guys. He's got kind of this pearlescent paint job that Robocop actually had in the movie. So it is silver with like a hint of pearl, like a pinkish hue. George Costanza would love this figure, thanks to the pinkish hue. It's interesting, not so much on the back, more of that bluish look that he's got in Robocop 2, but the arms have that kind of purpley shine to them. It's nice. It's sparse. It's like it's here and there, which I like. It'd be too much if it was just all pink, all pearl looking. And let's take a look at some of the articulation on this guy. The head is stiff, but very like Robocop motions. That's cool. It's almost appropriate, it being that stiff. That's how Robo actually moves. Elbow joint. Got a better one. And does he have the G.I. Joe swivel elbow? I don't believe so. Not able to swivel his elbow. Ooh, that is some stiff, squeaky plastic. Full 360, and that's cool that the arm can actually do that instead of just straight around like a Joe. And his wrist can do a 360, and also because it's on a ball joint, it can do a little bit of motion to it. When Robocop is firing, you can get his arm out enough so that it's the actual proper Robocop look, and then the other hand while he's shooting. It's too bad that doesn't turn out more, but you can have that hand sticking out. Robocop pose. Waist twist. Looks like it can do a 360, yeah. He's got a bit of an ab crunch too. Lots of cool posability in this guy. More of a Marvel Legends level of posability than a 1/18th scale. So that's a great job by Hiya. Definitely better articulation, posability, stability than a lot of modern Joes that are this size. The legs. Oh, that is a great sign. I wasn't sure it was going to be able to do that. So that looks like he should fit in vehicles pretty well. Barely any knee bend, just like the real Robocop. And foot. That's really impressive. It's a working piston. See, when the foot is all the way forward, the piston comes out, and then when you bend it like that, it actually feeds in. So that's a working piston. That's pretty impressive. Tilt, don't believe so. That would have interfered with the piston function too, though. So That's the articulation for Robocop, and despite the limited articulation in the legs, you can still get some really nice poses for him. Robocop doesn't run, but you can have him walking with a purpose, or just standing there, gun at the ready. Let's pop in the data spike hand. Oh, you know what? That's a right hand. So he only comes with one left hand, and it's an open left hand. Interesting. The right hand is either the Auto 9 trigger hand or another open hand. I guess if they ever do the chair, that would be a good one for the chair. Having Robo just sit there. Although his knees bend so little, I'm not sure how well he could sit in a chair, but there's the extra hand for that. And the data spike. Perfect for criminals that he's not arresting anymore, and no danger of breaking this. It's very floppy. So you can either ventilate criminals or plug into G.I. Joe HQ or some of the computers in the USS Flag. Always got to have a data spike with Robocop. And another thing you can use the two open hands for is driving. So let's take a look and see if he will actually fit in either of these vehicles. I'm thinking it's gonna be an easy fit. The question is if he's too small for these vehicles. So he is tiny. He is tiny in this one. I was not expecting that. Yeah, he's if you have him sitting all the way to the back, he can't reach the steering stick, whatever it is. Almost does. It's not horrible. I think what would actually help a lot is kind of doing the trick that I did with the new Reaction Masters by Super 7 in the old Action Masters Optimus truck. He needs a booster seat, because that looks really cool, seeing this gleaming, shiny, pearlescent modern Robocop in this old Robo 1, but he's just too tiny in here. You can prop anything underneath him. I'm just grabbing a gas can from my deck of the USS Flag. And you can, the nice thing about the two open hands is you can put one of the hands onto the shifter here, pop the other hand up on the wheel, and I think that looks a lot better. Gets his head a little closer to the roof. Doesn't look like an old granny driving Robo 1. Big difference. Just doing that little lifter there. That's a pretty simple fix if you're able to track down one of these old Robo 1 cars. If you're looking for something more movie accurate, then there is this one, which is quite a bit more rare. It was made by Toy Island in the 90s. Ah. Oh. That is annoying. And very rarely do they actually pop up on eBay. But it is a really cool Detroit police cruiser. Not exactly like the one in the movie, but closer than anything anyone else ever made. Slide Robo in there. This is a perfect fit right here. Odd, since the live action Robocop figure is so much bigger than this guy, but this guy just seems to fit in here a lot better. You can't really get him leaning. This is the problem with a lot of vehicles that have figures. If you lean him all the way against the seat like you're supposed to, he can't reach the wheel, so you're just going to have to do that with most toys and their vehicles. But he's got a little shifter in there as well that he can reach. Can have him reaching inside the wheel there. And the head is pretty close to the ceiling there, but it's not hitting, it's not scraping. The door closes perfectly. This is a perfect fit. No lifter required. And he's got his partner Madigan from the TV show. So that seems to be a much better fit. And that just looks a lot better to me than the Toy Island Robocop figure. This figure right here that was intended for this car. The car is really nice. It's got some really nice realistic looking details, whereas the Toy Island Robocop is more of like a toyish Kenner looking figure. So I think this is a nicer combination, having this really super detailed movie accurate Robocop in the cruiser. It's got a nice clear windshield so you can see him in there, and the lights and sounds. And if you want to recreate the look from the poster, you can have Robocop stepping out of the car. It's so cool. And using the other opened hand to be opening the door. If you feel like that is a little short, actually, I think it's perfect height right there. But if you wanted to give him just a little bit of height, you can pop this stand on. It is a really good snug fit, so he's not going to come loose from this thing. If anything, that peg is going to break off of the stand. Let's open the door up, get the foot in there, and since the foot does bend down a little bit, you can actually take advantage of that and have it standing in the car, stepping out of the car, slightly opening the door. That looks so awesome. With the car, the piece of pavement, piece of the road, stepping out of his car, and hit the cherries. Dead or alive, you're coming with him. And boy, am I ever glad I held on to this Robocop car all these years. You never know when you've got something from years gone by and then something new will come along and just work for it perfectly. That looks so much better than the Toy Island figure. I think that is how I'm going to keep these guys together from now on. So I highly recommend this Robocop figure. He can fit in pretty much all your G.I. Joe figures. He's like a modern G.I. Joe figure. Did a great job with the range and articulation in his legs, so you won't have a problem with that. And good luck finding this Robo 1. As a huge Robocop fan, it's really cool to have finally the definitive 1/18th scale Robocop. We've got the definitive 1/6 scale thanks to Hot Toys, and the McFarlane and NECA figures are nice, they're fine. There was also a Figma figure, which was a little bit bigger, but as a lifelong G.I. Joe fan, I think it's really cool to see some of these old movie favorites, like Robocop, the Aliens. I don't have any of the Hiya Aliens, but I'm interested in those now that I see how well made this Robocop figure is. Hope you enjoyed this review. If you want to pick up one of these Hiya Toys Robocop figures, follow the link in the show notes. Feel free to share, leave a Robo thought in the comment spot, and to join the tribe, uphold, subscribe. Thank you for your cooperation.